Hey guys, Andre here to talk about a new app real quick called Amino who has sponsored this video. And since I'm pretty sure you're a Pokemon Go fan, this might really interest you. Okay, so Amino is an app that allows you to access a ton of different communities that span all kinds of topics like Mario, Kingdom Hearts, Pokemon, and lots more. Heck, you can even create your own Amino community too. And within each one, you can interact with thousands of other fans about your passion. So if I join the Pokemon Go community, for instance, I could chat with others, look for tips on how to catch them all, or set up a poll to find out what others think about the game. There's a lot you can do, so to check it out for yourself, all you have to do is click the links in the description below or search for Amino in the App Store or Google Play. And when you're there, you may want to try following some people, like me, at AndreGX, and maybe even try creating a poll of your own. And with that, let's get back to our regularly scheduled Pokemon Go discussion. Hey guys, welcome to another Game Explained discussion. I'm your host, Andre Seegers, and this time we're joined by Derek Binner and Ash Paulson to discuss everything related to Pokemon Go. So let's get started. Alright guys, Pokemon Go's been out for a week now. We've been meaning to talk about it for some time. So I thought we should finally sit down and get our thoughts out about this game. And I'm going to start off with the fact that, congrats Pokemon Company, I am finally playing a Pokemon game again. I don't know how they pulled that off.
It's a miracle.
It really is a miracle. So before we get into my thoughts, actually, let's get into what you guys think about this game, because you both have been playing, I think, a fair amount. Derek, you've been doing those daily journals, and Ash, I know I've seen you capturing a bunch of Pokemon all over the place. So yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on this?
I am shocked how much I've been addicted to this game. Because I'm not a mobile gamer at all. Two, I thought the concept looked dumb, or at least it looked so bare bones before it came out that I thought it was not going to be kind of uninteresting, and yet I'm still addicted to it. It's fun finding new Pokemon. It's fun interacting with people when you get there and go to a Pokestop or a gym, and there's been such a great build-up of community that I am shocked how much I just enjoy this game and have been enjoying playing it and trying to get out each day to try to catch new Pokemon or build up my Stardust in order to evolve Pokemon or what have you. It's surprised me.
Yeah, color me shocked. I mean, I wasn't in the beta, but everything I'd heard about the beta was not promising. And man, even the little bit they talked about it at E3, I was like, this looks completely uninteresting. They completely dropped the ball. And then the game came out, and I am surprisingly addicted to it. It's kind of cool to be part of something that has really quickly become a national phenomenon overnight. I would say worldwide, but it hasn't been rolled out everywhere yet, but I'm sure that once it has, it will become that. But just the other day, I was coming back home, it was like 4 in the morning, and there's there's a gym right across from where I live. It's a church. And so I was walking by the church on the way to my apartment, and I kid you not, a nondescript, creepy white van pulled up to the church. This is 4 in the morning, mind you. Pulled up to the church. 2 guys jumped out, and they're like, okay, this is the gym. We got to take it. And I'm like, dude, it is 4 in the morning. Are you kidding me? This is crazy. And I live like a couple blocks away from a park, and of course parks always have rustling grass, it seems. So I walked over there at like 3 in the morning on another night because I was bored and I wanted to take a break from work, and I get over there and there are like 10 other people playing Pokemon Go, catching Pokemon at 3 in the morning, and on a weekday, by the way. This is a weekday. And I'm like, this is crazy. I love this. So the game itself is janky as hell, but I'm loving the phenomenon aspect of it. It's become a cultural phenomenon.
I have never seen anything like this. I would say it might be, like, I don't think I've seen a single game capture this level of awareness or attention in ever. Like, I've never seen something like this. Like, I think it's doing something.
Maybe the original Pokemon Red, Blue, and
I don't think
Yellow.
even that.
Think so?
Not even that.
Like, back with the Pokemon Red and Blue, you couldn't walk up to a random cafe and see people standing around playing their Game Boys outside.
Exactly.
Like, you would see that once in a while, but not in the way that we're seeing with Pokemon Go.
And
that is true.
And that too is more. That still was more children focused at the time, I would say. Whereas now it's almost the inverse. You almost see more adults running around than you do kids about this. And I think the reason for that, I mean, there's multiple reasons for that, but one, it's capitalizing on the nostalgia of Red and Blue. So it's already capturing that demographic, as well as everyone who's played the game since. And the fact that it's free and available on devices that literally everyone already owns. And, by taking place in the real world, it's doing something no game has been able to do before. And that to me is amazing. Like, that is just really, really cool to see. And that's part of the reason why I've actually found myself enjoying it. Like, it actually is it's a social game. which is weird because you are running into people in the real world. Like when I was doing some of my videos, my journals, or not journals, but my gameplay, I would encounter people just trying to take over gyms, and people are like at the park down the street from me. Like, it is ridiculous how many people are playing this game, and that is awesome. The weird thing that is though is that, as Ash kind of touched on, the game itself like isn't even that good. Like, it's really janky. The core gameplay by itself, like in a vacuum, isn't that compelling. The gym battles are pretty terrible.
They're awful.
Yeah, they really are. And yet, somehow, this game there's something about it, and I think it is a novelty. Like, this game is novel, but I have found now that I've taken a couple of days away from the game, because I'm finally trying to work through this massive project I'm taking on, trying to get that done. And once I stepped away from it a little bit, once the addiction subsided, I realized, I'm like, now I'm almost wondering if I'm over it now. Like, I don't know. So I maybe have to try and get back into it again. But I do wonder if, like, how much of that is just momentum carried through from the addictive factor of the game. Because it is addictive. But once you get past that, there may not be much there.
That's a good question, because I think it's interesting you mentioned the beta and how people weren't really too... they weren't really praising the game much, and I think it's because that is the game in a vacuum. That is the game without the social experience at all. When you look at just the gameplay, and I've seen a few reviews come out at this point where they basically say is like, yeah, the game is pretty bad. The gyms aren't, the battles aren't compelling. The capturing Pokemon is simple. It doesn't explain anything. There are issues with this game, not to mention all the server issues that people have been plagued with since the beginning. Yet, when you add the social element, those other things start to matter less, and you all just come together and really have a fun time. And it actually completely makes sense to me that people are going around at 4 a.m. Ash to take gyms, because there's no competition at that time. So you can easily roll through, get gyms, and earn Pokecoins, which is so hard to get without spending real money.
No competition. Ash was also out there too. So.
That's true. Although I hate the gym battles so much, I don't know if I'd be considered competition. I can't stand those. Like that whole part of the game, I'm ready to ignore. For me, it's all about the exploring and finding different Pokemon and filling out my decks. I don't care about gyms at all. At this point.
I'm inclined to agree with you. I find the gyms to be just really tedious.
Yeah.
And the gameplay itself isn't fun. They take longer than anything else in the game does. So it seems like a lifetime when you're walking around and have to stop at these locations.
Especially with the server issues. And of course, all the gyms around here too, they have they're already led by Pokemon that have 1800 CP, and I'm like, whatever, okay. And they're level 24 trainers, and I'm like, okay, well, clearly a bunch of people in LA have way more time to play this than I do, so I'm just gonna enjoy it at my own pace and enjoy catching and finding Pokemon, which to me has been a lot of fun.
Well, speaking of which, what's your level and how many Pokemon have you caught? Unique Pokemon, since I've transferred a bunch of Pokemon already. So, how much have you completed your Pokedex yet so far, Ash?
So I'm at level 10, and I've caught 40 unique Pokemon. So I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
I basically exhausted Koreatown, I think. Koreatown is home to a lot of Mankeys, a lot of Cubones, a lot of Geodudes. Although I did find a Kabuto walking around last night, which really surprised me.
Lucky.
Yeah, so that surprised me. But it's funny. We've been talking about how great the social element of this game is, but it's funny when you actually meet up with people. There aren't any ways yet that you can actually play together. You're still playing by yourselves, and you're talking to the other person, of course, but you're not really interacting within the game, other than in kind of a passive way with the gyms. Now we know that they're going to add. Apparently they're going to add in trading later, and possibly trainer battles. But I think trading has been confirmed, at least by the recent data mine of the Android version.
Oh, they straight up said it's coming too.
Oh, did they? Okay,
yeah.
Cool. So we know that there are going to be, actual player interactions within the game soon, but as it is now, there are none, even though we're praising its social element. So I find that kind of interesting.
Once the trading gets implemented, it'll be huge, because, my goodness, do I want to be able to trade so I can start filling out my Pokedex. And getting so much, because the thing is, I'm at level 13 and I have 52 Pokemon in my Pokedex. I could easily evolve an Oddish to get myself up to 53, but I'm trying to build up its CP because I am trying to compete in gyms because I want my Poke Coins because I don't want to spend money because I am cheap.
Now, maybe this is because I'm not as, accomplished in the game as you are, Derek, but I've never even felt anywhere close to the need to spend money to get Poke Coins because I live at least around, 3 or 4 Pokestops from which I can easily get eggs, berries, revives, potions, and of course Pokeballs whenever I want, basically. So, is that what about the game is making you tempted to want to spend money?
The thing that's most tempting me are the upgrades. So you can hold more Pokemon, so you can hold more items, because I am maxing out on items, because I've gotten a lot of revives, and I'm basically have to start throwing them away at some point, because I'm just running out of room. And I do run out of Pokeballs. I have actually gotten very close to, I've actually completely ran out once and gotten close to losing them multiple times, so I actually have to drive to a certain park in order to just sit there where there's 3 right in a circle, and I could easily just farm it. And I don't live in a city, so I can't just go down the street and get Pokestops, and it's worse for some people who don't have Pokestops or even Pokemon around them.
Yeah, I've seen pictures where there's literally nothing at all around them, whereas for me, because I live in San Francisco, I can spin the camera. There are literally well over 100 Pokestops within view of where I'm at right now. So
wow,
I can walk in literally any direction and hit any number of Pokestops.
I'm somewhere. I'm not quite that. I live in LA, but it's not quite that crazy. I would say I have about 30 Pokestops within range just from my apartment. But there's a daycare right across the street that's a Pokestop that I barely even have to leave my apartment to get, and I get I don't think I've been below 99 Pokeballs ever since I got 99 Pokeballs.
Yeah, same here.
I have 100. I have 183 right now.
Yeah,
I hate you guys so much because I'm sitting at
that's so
40, 45 Pokeballs and 30 Great Balls, and that's about it.
Oh, now I haven't even seen a Great Ball. I didn't even know there were.
Well, that's what the levels are for. Once you hit level 12, you'll get Great Balls.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, if only that was true in all aspects of life. Hit level 12, get Great Balls. I mean, yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But it does kind of speak to how interesting this game is, because the experience can be so wildly different depending on where you live. And I love that about it. I do love that Pokemon are actually, different by location, and you have to be, you have to go to a lake or a beach or something, or a river trail to get water Pokemon. That part is really cool to me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. No, I experienced that the other night, because it's funny enough, one of the most common Pokemon I have around me is an Eevee. I catch Eevees all the time. I already have all 3 evolutions, and it's nuts. And I hear some people desperate to get Eevees. And then I was trying to find ways to change up how many Pokemon I catch or what Pokemon I'm finding. And I went down to the riverside near me, and sure enough, I started catching Poliwag, Staryu, Slowpoke, found a Growlithe for randomly, and it was great to see all of a sudden go to this new area and catch new Pokemon. So that's making me thinking, okay, where can I go around here locally that I can easily get to, walk around for a bit, and catch new Pokemon? Because I seriously want to complete the Pokedex.
Yeah, me too. And I think, speaking of the Pokedex, I think Nintendo and Niantic and the Pokemon Company were genius by only focusing, at least to start, on the original 150. Because as you said earlier, Andre, it plays on that nostalgia factor. Almost everyone knows who the original 150 Pokemon are.
Yeah.
If this had launched with the entire 721 Pokemon Dex now, I don't think this would be nearly as popular, because people don't really care about the Pokemon beyond the original 150 to, at least enthusiasts do, but lay people don't. So launching with just the original 150 was so key, I think, in this game's success.
I totally agree with that, because that does tap into that nostalgia factor of anyone within the last 20 years, basically. Anyone who's played or has seen Pokemon at all knows at least some of those Pokemon. Whereas even for me, I obviously I follow Nintendo. I don't know who most of those newer Pokemon are. I haven't played the newer games. So I'd have no idea myself. So I do think that was a huge factor, especially because it is brilliant too, in that now they can add more content to the game that people might be interested in checking out. Even if you don't know the newer Pokemon, at this point, you may be interested after playing Pokemon Go for the first time.
I could totally see that happening because I have talked to several people who's like, I never played Pokemon as a kid. I didn't care about the series. Why am I addicted to this game all of a sudden? And now Niantic has the opportunity to basically roll out the generations in the same way that Game Freak did over the years. And obviously, it'll be a little bit quick. It'll likely be quicker than that. But people that even lapse are like, I haven't played this in a while, but oh, new Pokemon? Oh, hell yeah, I'm going to get out there and play some more. Right. I can totally see that happening. And Niantic is in a good position if they can fix up a lot of the issues, expand it a bit, and then, keep people invested. It is nuts.
Well, and that's really the thing, is keeping people invested, because this isn't the first time we've seen the app blow up and then just fizzle out. Like, there was Draw Something, and, any number of apps have done similar things. So, I think that is something that they really are going to have to start focusing on soon. Otherwise, this will just be another bubble.
Well, first they got to get it launched worldwide. Then I think they'll switch their focus to getting all those things fixed.
That's true, yeah.
Well, and the other thing are all the server issues and the app issues. I mean, I don't think I've ever played such an unstable anything on my phone. Like, it is the most unstable, glitchy, just overall janky experience I think I've ever had with any mobile game. And yet, because it's Pokemon and because the core element of catching Pokemon has been captured so well, that stuff doesn't matter nearly as much, but I think it will over time. I mean, I've gotten used to having to relaunch Pokemon Go almost every time I catch a Pokemon, which really sucks. And I'm overlooking that for now, but I can see that really kind of digging into me after a while. I mean, my wife was into it, and she's already almost given up on it because it almost always crashes on her.
It really is remarkable how un-Nintendo-like this game is, and how janky it is, which is unusual for Nintendo, but also how progressive it is. Of course, there was Ingress before this, which I guess was successful. I never saw anyone ever play that game, whereas Pokemon Go obviously took that much to the next level. And involving real-world locations, involving potential dangers. Like, the game straight up warns you when you turn it on to be careful when you're walking around. This game is very much unlike what Nintendo's done before for any number of reasons, and is unlike what really any mobile game has been able to capture before. So it is so weird for any number of reasons how unlike Nintendo this game is. In fact, even getting back to how janky it is, like, even the version number is like well below 1. It's not even 1.0 yet. It's so weird.
It's funny. I think they're up to 1.0.2 or something like that.
Oh wait, did they actually pass 1.0 now?
Yeah, it's 1.0. They did 1.0.1 to fix those.
When it launched, it was 0.2 point something, I think. So
was it?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I swear I saw it at 1 point something when I updated it on the App Store yesterday.
Okay, maybe finally updated to 1.0.
So it did push an update, which was interesting because when I went out to play yesterday, I was actually surprised by how smooth the experience was. I didn't crash, and the servers didn't hang at all. I was actually able to catch 4 Pokemon in a row right after each other, and it was a smooth experience. So that kind of gave me a taste of what it might be like to play Pokemon Go when it's actually running smoothly.
It's so weird where I've had experiences where I've been smooth catching Pokemon, have no issues, and other times I try to catch a Pokemon, it locks up, and I restart it and try to catch it again, it locks up again, and I'm just getting so frustrated. Like, when it's smooth, it's fun, but God, do these server issues just really kill your enjoyment sometimes.
Yeah, I mean that is the main thing, is the fact that this game is so dependent on servers, more than any other mobile game I've played, that if you lose that connection, the entire game just straight up can't work, basically. I just wish the game were more graceful about that, like giving you an option to quit or get out. Because the game doesn't even tell you the server issues, you just see the spinning Pokeball of death, as I like to call it now.
Yeah.
I think a huge misstep was the fact that they for some reason tied the user interface into the server. So you can't manipulate the user interface independently of the server. Everything is dependent on that server connection. So if it goes kaput, then nothing in the app works. And I'm not quite sure why they did it that way, but that seems to be the core problem here with the server issues.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's dependent on it because the server needs to know what items like you're accessing or using or buying. But yeah, I agree. It does come across as very sloppy. But yeah, what you gonna do? But even outside that, like the game just doesn't feel that refined. But it works.
No, it sure doesn't.
Yeah, but it works, and that's the thing. And I think also, getting back to this game's broad appeal, I think another really brilliant stroke almost is in how simple it is. Like, even though there's not much depth to it, I think its simplicity is what has allowed it to gain such a massive foothold, and that it's super easy to hop in and start catching Pokemon, even though you don't even know what you're doing or why you're doing it. Even though the game literally explains nothing, there's enough there that they can pick up on that it does hook you into the experience.
That is probably the most incredible thing, is how that's another, like, I think it's almost an accidental thing, because it's fostered more of a community because nobody knows how to play.
It's true.
So everybody's trying to work together to figure out tactics and where you might go and everything else. And people help each other in normal ways, too. Like, I've been walking, and all of a sudden people will come by and say, there's a Charmander 2 blocks down. Go, go, go. And, everybody will go that way. And I've heard stories about other crazy moments. Like, if you're in a city and you pop down a Pokemon lore module in a public place, all of a sudden there will be a ton of people congregating there trying to catch their trying to catch Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. I've watched that happen many times, like right in front of my eyes, and it's really interesting to behold.
Absolutely, it's that's the funny moment, because I've actually had it's cool being able to just meet up with somebody. It's almost like a con I compared it to before, where you always have that one point of where you have something in common when you go to a convention, and with Pokemon Go you have that point of your one thing in common with everybody. So if you notice they're playing, you can immediately and easily start up a conversation just talking about the game.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It acts as just that instant conversation starter. It's an icebreaker. It really is something I've never seen before, and it's awesome. It is really cool to see Nintendo, and Niantic, and of course the Pokemon Company come together to create something that feels new. And which again is weird just for how progressive it is for Nintendo. It's so bizarre to me.
I saw Ash posted something on, was it Twitter or Facebook, Ash? That thing about Nintendo and their relationship with the internet.
Oh, with mobile.
With mobile, that's right.
Yeah. So, Nintendo's mobile strategy. 2008, what's an iPhone? 2010, what's an Android? 2012, nope. 2014, still no. 2016, change how society functions. And it's so true.
It is so true.
It is ridiculous. My mom told me she saw that Pokemon Go was on the front, and she doesn't even know what Pokemon is. I mean, well, she knows what it is, but she doesn't follow it. She's like, hey, I saw Pokemon Go was on the front page of the Seattle Times. I'm like, what? Really? Like, this is...
Yeah.
It's crazy. My friend is just in Seattle, actually, and he was catching Pokemon with a whole bunch of other people down at the bottom of the Space Needle. It's weird.
The first few days, my mother gave me a call and talked about how her boyfriend's son was, like, they were on vacation, and he was like, Pokemon Go came out, and he was out biking while they were on vacation to catch as many Pokemon as he could before they came back here. Mm-hmm. And it's just funny, like, who's talking to you all of a sudden. Like, I've heard so many stories about, like, gamers having their parents all of a sudden call them up and talking about this game or asking about the game and trying to figure it out for themselves, and it'd be like, everybody's like, what? It's so strange. Like, I haven't seen this since the Wii, where so many, like, non-gaming people are so invested in a game.
It really is like a Wii-like phenomenon, yeah.
I'm kind of starting to think this is Nintendo's second Wii moment. Like, they haven't had anything catch on quite like this, like wildfire, since the Wii.
Yeah. And I think this is actually even bigger than the Wii.
Oh yeah,
I could see that.
At least for any single moment. It may not have the staying power of the Wii, which what I think it was breaking sales records for 3 years before it petered out. Maybe who knows how Pokemon Go will do. But regardless, for any single moment, like for this small week of time, I don't think we've seen any bigger gaming phenomenon ever.
It's hard to say, but I don't think so. Yeah.
I mean, I'm reading right now on a website, and the mayor of Rio de Janeiro wants Nintendo to bring Pokemon Go to Brazil.
That's crazy.
This is so bizarre,
right? Like, we've seen hospitals or police departments like issue reports about it. Like, I saw I think FedEx or UPS or some parcel delivery service sent a notice to everyone in the company, be like, hey, be careful when you're driving around. Their kids playing this new mobile game is running out into the street.
It's funny because, like, cops and people like in safety are like, be careful about this and all that. But I also have seen, like, Marines posting pictures of, like, Squirtle, get out of the gun range or something like that. That's not safe. And then there's also all these stores that are Pokestops, and they're seeing increases in sales, and they'll actually say which Pokemon you can find around here and come in, and if you find it, you'll get a discount or something like that.
Oh,
and
that's brilliant.
And now there's even stores
Yeah.
campaigning to Nintendo to let them become a Pokéstop so they can increase their sales like that. And I will say right now, that happened with me. When I was out looking around, I was in a mall area, and I saw this one place that was open where everything else was closed, and it turned out to be a board game cafe where you can just play board games before you buy them and get coffee or whatever. I'm like, that's brilliant. I never knew this existed.
Well, yeah, that kind of speaks to the other thing I was going to mention, is that in the same way that Ingress did before it, apparently, Pokemon Go is, at least in my experience, is really encouraging people to get out there and learn about where they live. I mean, I've learned a few cool little facts, even about like the streets around me. Like there's an apartment building that used to be a hotel, and the way you know that is that there's some art left over on the building from when it was a hotel. I didn't know that. I've been living here for 2 years, so it's kind of cool that it's getting people to get out and learn about where they live.
That actually is one of the cooler things. Like as I mentioned, there's like 100 Pokestops right around me, and if I walk a few more blocks, another 100 will appear. And and there is so much at each of those that I've never even noticed before. These are streets I've walked up and down for the last year and a half, and I'm seeing things in the app that are there in real life that I never even noticed before or didn't consciously recognize. It's ridiculous how much cool stuff is around you that I hadn't noticed before.
Yeah, I'm actually very tempted to take a trip to... I live in Pennsylvania, so I could take a trip to Gettysburg, which obviously is a very historical place, which might have a lot of Pokestops around, so...
Now that actually reminds me, speaking of historical places, did you hear about what's going on with the Holocaust Museum?
I did.
Yeah, the Holocaust Museum
Yeah.
and the National Cemetery, there are places where it's just not right to have Pokestops there, and I think that's
Right.
another thing Ingress needs to look at, is removing some Pokestops and from certain places and putting others in.
Well, that's actually another reason I forgot to mention that, why it's so weird for Nintendo to be releasing this game. There is literally a Pokestop at a porn studio down the street from me.
Oh gosh.
There's
That's
another
amazing.
one, my good friend Gadget GameSpot tweeted this, and he actually made it into several like BuzzFeed articles on like Gizmodo or Gizmondo or whatever, where he found a Pokestop at a strip club in San Francisco.
That's so great.
Yeah.
There's those. There's the fact that one is at the Sony building, at the Sony offices.
Yeah, my friend sent me that, and I tweeted that out, and that got a huge response.
And have you heard about the
Yeah.
battle for the White House? Because that's a gym.
Oh man, there's one inside the
That's
Pentagon
amazing.
too. The very center of the Pentagon, apparently, and I think Team Yellow owned it. Last I heard.
I heard.
That's
I saw
amazing.
Kotaku's sent an email to the president of the United States in order to ask, is Barack Obama the one that that took over the Pokemon gym?
If he took it over, no one, who would fight him on that? Who would fight him on that? I think your job would be in severe jeopardy if you decided to take the gym from the president of the United States.
Right?
Yeah.
Just a
Yeah.
little
Now
bit.
I don't know if you guys have seen, but more Pokemon Go statistics have come in from SurveyMonkey, and it has officially become the biggest mobile game in U.S. history.
Yeah.
Not only that, it receives 21 million daily active users, surpassed Candy Crush, and it has more active users at once than both Twitter and Snapchat, and possibly even Google Maps.
That is
What am I reading here?
That is crazy.
It's
I also
crazy.
heard too that at least for a brief period of time, it was also the #1 app in revenue. And of course, Nintendo stocks from this have shot way up. I think the highest they've been since the Wii, I believe, or or the most they've gone up in a day since then. I forget the exact.
No, the thing I saw was that it was the most it had shot up in a single day since,
Yeah.
I think, 1983.
Oh, that was it. Jesus, yeah. So I'm wondering if Nintendo's regretting not hopping into mobile sooner.
I don't think so, because I think they had to figure out their ideas for it. So I think to go in and sort of really look at what it is.
you could say that at any point in time, though. I mean, they could have started the process earlier and gone to this point a few years ago.
Maybe, but here's the other
Yeah.
interesting thing that I've actually heard recently is that very few people are getting new apps. What do you know? The app sort of boom is slowing down, yet Nintendo's here with a major new app that everybody is getting in on.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. I mean, I am curious to see where it's going to go. I'm curious to see if it'll peter out like Miitomo did, or if it's going to have some legs.
I would argue it already has way more legs than Miitomo did, at the least.
Well, that's true. Although it is still barely a week old. So
That's exactly
you
my
know,
point.
But here's that is a very good point, because I stopped playing Miitomo after 3 days.
Yep. Yeah, I was like 2
We
days I was
did,
done.
or you did, but do we know how long it lasted in the overall?
Oh, it had
you
to have
know,
been
in the
similar.
wider public sphere?
I think after a week and a half, I stopped seeing Miitomo posts
Okay.
outside of a few people.
Well, I think it's going to... I mean, I know Michael Proctor, of course, which means nothing. He believes that it's going to peter out within 4 months.
Pokemon Go?
Yeah, Pokemon Go. I don't know. I think it depends on, A, how well they fix the issues that kind of plague the app and the servers, and B, how quickly they roll out new content.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Like, I mean, honestly, if I had to choose right now, I could totally see it petering out 4 months. Especially, I mean, it's hard to define. I mean, right now, I think we're at the peak, at least in the U.S. When they roll around worldwide, of course, each country will have its own respective peak. But I think right now, like, we're at the peak. We may get another week or two of this, and it's going to start petering out. Like, there's no way they can sustain this level of attention perpetually. That's impossible.
Right.
So the question is, like, how much will adding new features bring back that user base that they've lost? And I guess their hope ultimately is just to maintain like a very strong baseline, and they're gonna have to do that by just rolling out features and Pokemon on a consistent basis. I think. I don't know what that baseline is, but I do think it's going to be substantially lower than what we're seeing right now. Which sucks.
It's obviously going to be substantially lower, but that's sort of like Pokemon. Pokemon had its huge boom with Red and Blue, and Gold and Silver continued that for a little bit, and then it sort of petering out and became kind of level. And that's where Pokemon is at, like the series is at now. It's still huge,
right,
but it's nowhere near the numbers it had back in 99 and 2000.
Yeah, it is really. I mean, I think if anything, it just shows the power of the Pokemon brand. At this point,
God,
like
yeah.
it shows, it shows there has been massive untapped potential with it, and unleashing it on the mobile, it has really. I mean, like we can see it caught the stock market by surprise with their reaction to Nintendo. So it's extremely promising for Nintendo at this point, showing how much power. I mean, at least if not Pokemon, hopefully the rest of their brands holds as well, and we said before in that Nintendo. It seems like we're in a new age of Nintendo almost right now, with Iwata enacting all these changes before his passing. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that potential in the years moving forward, between theme parks, between movies, between more mobile apps. I think this is the start of it, and I'm really excited to see what comes of this. It really almost seems like, if Nintendo does this right, this may be the most we hear of Nintendo in the last 15 years. I mean, it may even be able to exceed like the Wii levels, I think.
I think it's possible.
It's funny you mention Iwata because it does seem like every change that he was enacting before his passing has been a major success. So I'm curious to see if they're able to maintain that and keep his ideas afloat, that they can keep this momentum going. Because all of a sudden I would have to imagine like, oh man, Iwata was right about this. Oh man, Iwata was right about this. We need to keep doing his ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's a long shot, but if Nintendo does knock it out of the park with the NX, and I mean really knock it out of the park, we could be seeing the beginning of a major resurgence here. Yeah. Like, not just on mobile, and not just this new Nintendo that's embracing mobile, but also in the console space, if they knock it out of the park. And that's, the jury's still out on that. But, we could be at the beginning of something pretty extraordinary here.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
For Nintendo.
The NX really is a big question mark at this point, but, at the least, this may show Nintendo that even if the NX fails, which hopefully it won't, there is still potential. I mean, there is life for the company beyond consoles. As much as that's going to anger some people, like it shows that they don't have to only exist on their platforms. And if the NX does end up failing, that doesn't necessarily mean the end of Nintendo. So, I mean, at this point, it is their brands that matter the most, and and they can capitalize on them outside of just outside not just even their consoles, outside of just even games.
Well, and they've also, when they first announced their intention to embrace the mobile space, they even came out and said, we need this extra revenue from mobile so that we can then further focus on our console ventures. So, even if the NX does quote-unquote fail or not do as well as they would like it to, the gobs and gobs and gobs of money they could continue to make from the mobile space can, they can very well use that to continue their, existence in the console market. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. But this extra revenue is only a good thing. And I don't think that this is going to become the future for Nintendo. I don't see a Nintendo that only exists on mobile, no matter how well the NX does. Mm-hmm. But still, I mean, this can only be a good thing for Nintendo fans. The fact that they're making gobs and gobs of money off of Pokemon Go, and hopefully later this year or next year, Animal Crossing and Fire Emblem, whenever those come out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really interested to see how those turn out. Now, I have one quick question for you guys. How much do you think Nintendo's regretting not tying in the Nintendo accounts to Pokemon Go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
That's probably quite a bit.
Yep.
That would have been a good idea.
But it's kind of weird, and we've touched on this, but like Nintendo barely is even talking about Pokemon Go themselves. At least Nintendo of America, which is kind of strange. Like, we're hearing about all this from other users and from Niantic, but
Yeah.
you know, this is like when we talked about how this is a different Nintendo, and Nintendo isn't really even. They're not posting tips videos. They're not posting strategy videos. You know, I haven't really seen any coverage of this game from Nintendo themselves. So it's almost like Nintendo on mobile exists separately from Nintendo itself. It's really weird.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. I mean, in this specific case, it's hard to tell how much of it is Nintendo, how much is it, you know, the Pokemon Company, and how much is it being mobile.
Yeah.
Because the Pokemon Company has always acted somewhat autonomously and independent from Nintendo, like with how even they post some Pokemon trailers only on the Pokemon channel, not on Nintendo, for instance.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but I mean, then again, Nintendo has been heavily involved from day one with this game. I mean, as they are with most Pokemon things, but they were very upfront about this. Like, this has been a relationship between Nintendo, the Pokemon Company, and Niantic. So it is very weird how they've gone about the marketing of this, in that there's been almost none, and that hasn't mattered. Like, it's done ridiculous
Yeah.
in spite of that. So
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't mattered, and they have been completely willing to kind of eschew their, their kind of really family-friendly, pure image. I mean,
Yeah.
3 of the gyms right around my apartment are held by people with awful usernames, like racist and otherwise really inappropriate usernames. But this is just
geez.
something that anybody with Pokemon Go can see. Any child can see this, and usually in the past, that's something Nintendo would really recoil from. They'd be like, oh wait, there's a chance that one child in the universe could possibly see something inappropriate. We can't do it. You know, just impossible. No, can't do it. Now, between Miiverse and the Miiverse stage in Smash, and now this, it's like, you know, they I don't know, it's weird, but they don't seem to be that concerned with kind of keeping up that family-friendly image anymore.
I mean, I think part of it maybe is that they can't. Like, it's impossible to live in this isolated community forever. They want to join the modern age.
That's true. It's more that they can't.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that they're not doing any kind of, like, you know, moderation or enforcement or whatever. But at some point, you know, you can't keep everyone away from everything perpetually. So it's good to see Nintendo kind of maybe step back from that perfect idealized world in which no bad things exist, simply because it would stop their real life progress. Like, Pokemon Go wouldn't be the success it is if they held themselves to the same ideals they have for the last 10 years of how they've dealt with online. So.
Right.
Yeah, but like I said, I mean, I agree with you. It is interesting. Like, this game seems so anti-Nintendo in so many ways, and that's actually why I like it. And it's nice to see that they're being rewarded for that in the marketplace. Not that I want to see every game from them be as janky as this game, but at the same time, I also like novel experiences. So I'm willing to trade some stability for a novel experience. Now, I guess real quick, because we haven't really touched on the core gameplay itself beyond our initial impressions. Is there anything you guys think they can do to improve that? Because right now, the gameplay consists of walking down the street, waiting for your phone to, like, vibrate, try to catch a Pokemon by throwing Pokeballs at it, and then, spinning Pokestop icons, and then try and take over gyms with just horrible gym battles. So, what are your thoughts on the core gameplay, and what do you think, what would you like to see them improve on moving forward, if anything?
Well, the thing is, it's hard to improve on, for example, the gyms. It is what it is. That's always how it's going to be, unfortunately. They're not going to all of a sudden change it to turn-based like the regular games, because that takes way longer. You think it takes a while for the gyms to go through now. If you're waiting like every turn for these battles to go through, you're going to be at that gym for quite a while. Catching, again, works just fine. Once they get everything stabilized, they're not really going to do much to change it. I think the big aspect is going to be the trading and how they handle trading, and also how they handle legendary Pokemon. There's been no word yet about how to catch Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres, and Mewtwo and Mew. Those are our 5 legendaries from Gen 1.
Also, apparently Ditto is a legendary now.
Is he?
Well, it just
Really?
means he's not in the game.
No, that doesn't mean he's not in the game, just nobody's encountered him yet.
If no one's encountered him yet, then you can't catch him in the U.S. at this point.
Well, I don't know yet. I don't know enough about Ditto, that that kind of thing. But it is still, there are Pokemon that just not out there. So I'm very curious to see how they would introduce it. Are they going to have events like they had in that initial trailer where everybody is in Times Square throwing Pokeballs at Mewtwo? Or is it going to be like sort of like a special stop sort of thing, like the mystery gifts that the normal games have, and how they roll out the legendary Pokemon? Those are big things, but I think trading is by far the biggest thing that they could add. And maybe even find ways to have people more easily collect Stardust. But that's sort of integral to the gameplay experience of catching as many Pokemon as possible, so it's hard to change. But Legendaries and trading are my two big ones.
I think for me, trainer battles, just regular trainer battles, assuming they can work out the kinks in the battle system and actually make it, flow with some semblance of smoothness. I think it'd be really cool if there was like a player versus player element in this game to a degree. They couldn't do something like the winner gets the other person's Pokemon, nothing like that. But if there was some sort of incentive for going out and fighting other trainers and winning battles, I think that'd be pretty cool. It would have to be an optional part of the game, but I think just the augmented reality element of going out and actually facing other real-life, quote-unquote, Pokemon trainers with their Pokemon, that's something that can't be replicated in any other way, really. And I think that could be really cool. I mean, it kind of, again, it's that gee whiz element of bringing Pokemon into the real world, and that's the main reason why Pokemon Go has caught on. It's that gee whiz augmented reality element of, oh my god, Pokemon is in the real world, And I think if they can continue to capitalize on that with things like trainer battles and trading in the real world, I think, it could get even better and better.
Yeah, I think that actually would be awesome. That is one of the main Pokemon things they're missing, besides trading, is trainer battles. I mean, that's the whole point of getting Pokemon in the original games, is they can become the very best, right? By battling other people and eventually the Elite Four. I think it'd be really cool in this game if, what if you, could post if you could post a sign, basically, it was an item. You post a sign, be like, yo, I'm available for train battles, come to me if you want to battle me, and that'll pop up in other people's, world map, and they can see, hey, someone wants to battle, let me go over there, and I'll, kick his ass. I think that'd be really cool, and that'd be a good way to, a more fun way of building levels and experience. I will say, though, for that to be effective, I would need them to revamp how battles work. I hate, as we talked about before, I hate how gym battles work. They're not fun. And I actually wish, they either need to fix the gameplay or just automate them. I don't want to sit there swiping my screen to dodge and then tapping it to attack. Especially because I still don't have a good grasp on the timing of that, because I think the server issues play into that. So I wish they would just revamp how those work. They can leave, the basics of it, the attacks, the visuals, just change how it works, whether automating or maybe you input very simple commands. Maybe returning to a Pokemon style selection menu wouldn't be the worst thing, where you just tap to dodge or attack as opposed to using gestures. I don't know. I just want them to streamline that and make it a little bit more.
Automating would be the worst thing ever, because it's already so heavily focused on CP. If you immediately make it automatic, all of a sudden CP is all that matters with your Pokemon. And I have actually...
I mean, it already is, though, too.
Basically, but I actually have had moments where I wanted to take over a gym. Well, not to take over, but I wanted to join a gym. But it was only level 1. In order to expand the gym, I needed to train at it and earn more prestige in order to get it to the next level. In order to do that, I had to beat a Pidgeot that was 200 CP higher than my best Pokemon. And it took me a couple tries, but I was able to do it. And I actually just figured out the dodging, got lucky with the server, and actually beat it and got the prestige up that I could put myself in. So there is a little bit in there, but if you make it completely automated, that is gone, even that little bit.
It's not necessarily gone. I mean, they could add a random element where...
But but that makes it even worse. That makes it like Mario Party, basically. Why not? If it's just random. I mean, if there's no element of skill to it, why bother,
Well, I would I don't know if I'd consider
I agree. There's not much of an
very
element
little
of skill now. Yeah, I agree with that.
Here's my problem. The gym battles aren't fun. For me, at least.
Yeah.
I don't have fun with them So I'd rather not waste time on not having fun, just have the game take care of it for me. Even if it is purely CP based, at least I'm still doing something to that gem, and it's not wasting my time.
It's that whole tapping element. Tap, 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 tap as fast as you can. See them power up for their special attack. All of a sudden, start swiping left or right to try to dodge. Then tap, 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 or hold if you got yours charged up. That's basically all it comes down to. But
God, is that how you use your special move? Is you have to hold it?
yeah,
I still don't know, which is one of the problems of this game. They don't explain anything.
No.
once the blue bar is filled up, you push and hold the screen, and it'll unleash
Okay,
it.
that's how you do it. Okay.
And actually, that is one of the few things explained. It's in the tips menu.
And then, I don't think I've even seen the tips menu.
Well, it doesn't explain there's a tips menu either.
Okay, I didn't know there was a tips
well,
menu. That's funny.
if you hit the Pokeball button, it'll be tips right below the options. So, and then it'll give very basic explanations, and that's how you do the whole gym thing.
What's funny is my wife didn't even know they were eggs until I had to point them out to her yesterday. She's like, "Wait, you can like incubate eggs? What? Wait, where do you find that?" And she went to items, which is where you'd think eggs would be, but no, they're in the Pokemon menu. Like, there's very little messaging in this app.
Not just messaging. Like the UI is pretty not great. Like it's I don't know if it's just me, but and maybe it was a server just playing to it. Like it's so complicated putting an egg into the incubator. Like you select the incubator, but then the menu drops away, and then you have to choose again to put it inside the incubator. I still don't know how that works. Like I'll get it eventually, but and then there's the fact that trading away Pokemon is also the most tedious process ever. Like if you don't do it as you capture the Pokemon, it is so terrible. Like doing it one by one by one by one, instead of like being able to mass select Pokemon and donate them all at the same time.
I wish I got a little bit of Stardust from doing that. Even if it was just 10, I would feel better. Because it's nice to get the candy, but Stardust is... Unless you're catching everything, Stardust can be hard to get by. But also, you need a lot of Pokeballs for that. So that runs into my problem of I need to have Pokestops to get my Pokeballs so I can get Stardust.
I wasted so much Stardust and candy or whatever on upgrading some of my earliest Pokemon without realizing they don't matter, because you get way better Pokemon just out in the wild by finding them. And then so when I trade them away, I still get the same BS1 candy that even weak-ass Rattats give me, so...
Man, you sound salty.
I am
Weak-ass
salty.
Rattatas. The other thing that happens is I wonder if there's going to be a... kind of like an element where people will go out and they've exhausted all the Pokemon in their local area, so then interest drops immediately. Like, I just noticed last night walking around when I caught that Kabuto that all the Pokemon in my area I've caught them all many times. So, all my local Pokemon are essentially exhausted, and now I have to travel further and further out to hopefully find new ones. And I'm wondering if interest is going to kind of, drop in correlation with how quickly people find all the Pokemon they're able to find just by walking around locally.
That's a great question. I thought about this, actually. I think it'd be cool, and maybe it is in the game, we just haven't noticed it yet, but the Pokemon should have, like, migration periods, or where they, either maybe every few weeks they switch up locations, or maybe they slowly migrate. So, all the Pidgeys are around me now will maybe migrate south for the winter, and then we'll get a new batch of Pokemon that come in.
Yeah, that's one way they could do it. I still think they should only have legendaries in places like Machu Picchu and Angkor Wat and like the top of Mount Everest. So if you want those legendaries, you have to go out, you have to fly to other countries, or you have to, that's the only way.
Ash, you're evil. You're
I know,
evil.
right? I know, that's a terrible idea.
I actually do like that idea just on a grander scale. Like,
sure.
If there were like a few specific locations like that would be really cool. Like, if you go to Times Square, that's where a rare Pokemon will appear, maybe, for instance. Or the Golden Gate Bridge, stuff like that. I mean, that's kind of
there should not be any rare Pokemon exclusive to New York. I'm sorry, not New York. I'm sorry.
Oh man. Well, I just mean like that though. Like you could maybe have Mewtwo appear like in Times Square, at the Golden Gate Bridge, at any number of landmarks around the U.S. The Space Needle. So
that would be really cool. I mean, it's kind of like that Google Maps Pokemon thing that happened for a while, where you could only find Mew in like certain parts of the Amazon rainforest.
Yeah, exactly. I love, by the way, how this whole thing just started as an April Fool's joke and turned into an actual thing, and it's brilliant. Yeah.
I do think it's worth bringing up the darker, or the potential darker side of this, which is unfortunately that whenever something really cool and big and new catches on, there's a surefire chance that people are going to use it for two things: evil and porn. And we've already seen it used for evil at least once, because there's that armed robbery thing where the guys used a lure module to lure Pokemon Go players in and then rob them at gunpoint. How far off do you think it is that we hear about some kid running in the street to catch a Squirtle and getting hit by a car? Like how far away is the first major negative news story involving someone dying over Pokemon Go, you know?
Now, it's bound to happen, but I don't know it's going to be as common as all that, because there's already a lot of warnings. I've seen, like, streets say, like, signs come up and say, don't Pokemon and drive, don't, do this, watch where you're going. And
there could be as many signs as they want, but that's not going to stop people from being people.
Exactly. That's still going to happen, but at least, the awareness is there. And if, at least with kids, keep an eye on your kids. Make sure they don't run out. I know what you're going to say, Ash. I know that won't help, but
right.
You have to take that effort now in order to make sure your kids know the boundaries to not go hog wild with their Pokemon or anything like that. So it's going to happen. We just have to hope it's minor.
Yeah. I mean, when it does happen, you can rest assured we're going to hear about it all over the news. So, yeah, I was reading something on, I think it might have been Reddit even, where someone was driving and a kid just started walking out into the street playing his Pokemon game, and the guy actually got out of his car to tell him, dude, be careful, like you're going to get run over by this.
Yeah.
And, I mentioned too in my videos that I'm walking around, trying to record, I'm playing while I'm walking around to make sure the gameplay is compelling enough to post. And I am being aware of my surroundings, but I was watching my phone when I was crossing the street, and when I reached the sidewalk, I almost ate it, like, going over the curb. Like, I tripped on the curb, and I almost completely ate it. Like, how people, like, do, like, the half jog when they trip to kind of, like, play it off? I legitimately had to, like, start running to like, not fall on my face. So, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
That's a lot less interesting than what I thought you were going to say, because you originally started that with, well, I was climbing and looking at my phone. I'm like, where are you going to catch Pokemon if you're climbing and looking at your phone while you're climbing? I'm like, where are you even going?
I'm acting out Zelda Breath of the Wild in real life. So
there you go.
Yeah. All right. Oh, I guess there's one more thing I want to bring up real quick, because we were talking about this before. Apparently, Ash hates the music in the game.
Oh, yeah.
No. I only hate the world map music. I actually really think the battle themes are pretty cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny? I actually quite like the world map theme. I don't know why.
I do too. I don't listen to it too often because I don't want to disturb people and drain my battery even more. So I just keep it off. But the little bit I've heard of it, it sounds fine to me.
I actually turned it off now too, just because I listen to podcasts while I'm playing the game instead of. But I have my headphones in too. Like, I don't want to listen to that music constantly, but what I did when I did hear of it, I did like it. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate the world map music. It just got, I'm a big video game music nut, so I listened to it originally, and then I'm like, wait, this music loops very quickly, and it's literally all you can hear while you're out and about trying to catch Pokemon. I'm good on that, but I do actually almost every time turn the music on in battles, because I think the battle themes are pretty cool, and they sound like official Pokemon battle themes from the 3DS games, or from from the main series, I should say. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool. Although, that did bring me to one last point, actually. Do you think Nintendo is hoping or expects that there will be any sort of conversion from people downloading Pokemon Go, saying, oh man, I get it, Pokemon's cool, I never played it back in the day, I get it now, where can I play more? Oh, I have to buy this thing called 3DS, Pokemon Sun and Moon, oh, I'll try it out. Do you think Nintendo expects any of that kind of mobile to 3DS conversion?
I'm sure they hope so. I don't know if they expect so, and I don't know. I feel like the casual market is so fickle, right? I mean, I guess any level of awareness is good. I'm sure there'll be some kind of bump, even if it's unappreciable. But
sure.
I mean, who knows? I mean, I really don't know at this point, and I don't know if Nintendo knows at this point. I mean, clearly I don't think Nintendo knows a lot of the time, given how resistant they've been to mobile this whole time. So
yeah.
I mean, it is possible. I'm not expecting it, but honestly, I think what they should do is fast track Amiibo for the Gen 1 Pokemon. Get people there able to get their favorites. So now they have all of a sudden they had that Amiibo market combined with the casual market that all of a sudden are into these Pokemon. That might have some cross branding here, but who knows?
Well, you think we had crazy people doing things for Amiibo before with the Amiibo shortages? If they did like a Pokemon Generation 1 series, people would, oh my god, I don't even want to know what crazy things people would do to make sure they get their hands on the ones they want.
Yeah.
It's true. It's interesting times. Like, this is I have to say, like, as a Nintendo fan, it is exciting to see Nintendo being this relevant again. Like, I love
It
that.
is.
I love that everyone's talking about Nintendo, or more specifically Pokemon. And it's just really cool to see, like, everyone get together around a game.
Yeah.
Alright, well, I think that wraps up for us here. So thanks guys for watching. If you liked our discussion, make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. You can find links to them in the description below, which we keep up to date on everything we post. And of course, keep an eye on GameXplain for more on Pokemon Go, more on Pokemon, and everything else gaming as well. Alright, thanks guys. Bye.